Welcome back, DPReview TV viewers. It is Chris Niccolls here. For once, I'm not complaining about the cold. We have an unseasonably warm week, so we're outside of the house. Isn't that great? And what we're going to be talking about today is a bit of a different direction for our videos. I want to talk about my top 5 favorite digital cameras when it comes to how they handle, how they feel, how intuitive they are. We're not talking about image quality today. I'm going to give you my top 5, but we're going to have some other honorable mentions as well. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to cover a couple things here. First off, how a camera feels, how intuitive it is, that is highly subjective, right? To everybody's personal opinion and experiences. So these are my choices, but they might not match your choices. Please don't be offended if I don't pick one of your cameras. And please do leave what you think are the best handling cameras. Leave those in the comments below. We would absolutely love to see those suggestions. The other thing I want to mention too is most of the cameras we talk about today are fairly recent designs, and that just makes sense because the fact of the matter is, although there were excellent designs 10 years ago, along with a lot of weird stuff, the manufacturers have slowly progressed, getting better, refining their designs. I mean, pretty much everybody's done that across the board, except maybe Sigma, but I think it makes sense. Most of the cameras we're talking about are fairly recent. Okay, so let's start off with my number 5 choice, and it's actually going to be from Pentax. Now, I do want to mention, Jordan really wants me to say the Pentax 645Z is his favorite handling Pentax camera. I get it. It is a beautiful handling camera, but he does get aroused every time he touches that camera. I don't necessarily get that excited. So my particular choice is actually be the Pentax K1. Now, here's the thing. It's number 5 because it is an overly complex camera. This is really something designed for the photo geek, but to Pentax's credit, even though it's got so many buttons and controls and dials, it actually does handle beautifully because it's well thought out. First off, if you're going to have a complicated camera, it has to have a very simple interface, and it had a really nice heads-up display on the back panel. Now, while we're on the topic of that back panel, by far the most futuristic design I've ever seen. I don't know why I haven't seen it since that camera. I mean, it certainly added to the camera's already hefty bulk and weight, but it was rugged and it was very freeform. You could position that screen almost in any direction, which was very useful for landscape and low-to-the-ground photography. Now, the camera also had a very rugged design, and although it was large, it had a very comfortable grip. I don't have big hands, but I still felt it was really nice to hold, and they even did things like molding finger grooves into the part of the grip that goes alongside the body. I mean, just stuff that you don't really see very often. Overall, the camera was an excellent performer. It was rugged, it took great photos, but more importantly, if you're willing to put in the time and effort, you could really make this camera work the way you wanted it to. Now, my number 4 choice is actually going to be a Leica camera. I've never felt completely at one with M-series rangefinder ergonomics, but the new Leica M11 went a long way into making it a more enjoyable experience. I really like the changes they make, but if I was going to choose my favorite Leica camera as far as handling goes, it would have to be the Q2. You see, when you first look at the Leica Q2, it has a very handsome look, but it doesn't look like it'd be comfortable to hold, and yet, just having that texture on the front actually gave it a good grip, plus coupled with that thumb hole on the back. I mean, it still kept that very uber modern and clean look, but it was actually quite functional to hold. Also a very nice, simple interface, good touchscreen interface, easy to use, easy to navigate, and so much so that Leica actually continued to use a similar design in a lot of their future cameras. But really, for me, it came down to the tactile experience of that built-in 28mm lens. I love the fact that I could click in and out of a macro function on that very easily. I liked that the apertures were positive. I knew what I was changing and where it was clicking. And the manual focus, although still by wire, just felt very natural, felt very coupled, and with hyperfocal distance on there meant that it was very usable in a quick street photography situation. So the fact is that pretty much everybody that's touched a Leica Q2 and used it has had a smile on their face, and that goes a long way. My 3rd choice, it's going to be a Fujifilm camera, but no, it's not the XT series. I mean, as much as the 3 and the 4 really refined the design, and I get why people love it, that analog control experience, I actually always preferred the Fujifilm XS10. And on that same note, I actually really like the GFX 100S format because it's like a gigantic SS10 with even better dials. But no, my favorite choice is actually the Fujifilm X100V. And this is strange because if you've watched our show, you know that I'm not a big fan of the Fujifilm X100 series, but The V just had really nice refined front and rear dial. The grip is comfortable, and the key thing here is it's a pocketable camera. Not everything that handles well has to be a full-featured DSLR-styled camera. The EVF/optical hybrid viewfinder, it's nice to use on the X100V, but also some really nice refinements like the first LCD that actually flips out, and I do really like that feature, but they kept it so thin that it doesn't make the camera any bulkier. That was beautiful. And another thing that keeps the camera slim is that 35mm equivalent lens on there. Not my favorite focal length, but at least it's compact. It does have a nice aperture dial. Overall, though, it's just a really refined camera that fits in the pocket and is very nice to use. Look behind me at one of our famous sloughs. You might call it an irrigation canal because it's classier, but it's a slough. When's the last time you heard the word slough? Jordan wants me to keep going with the video. Okay. Nikon is going to be my number 2 choice. Now there's a lot of good cameras here, a strong heritage, and this is one of those brands that really has refined their designs over the years to get better and better and better. Now the Nikon Z9 is definitely up there. I mean, it is a full-featured mirrorless camera designed to feel like a DSLR, very customizable. I like the grip. It is a large and heavy camera, but it really does have a lot of refinement. The only reason I'm not picking is because there is a legend of a camera that has to come first. So what's Nikon's best handling camera? I know you're shutting at your screen right now, right? It's the D750, you guessed it right. I mean, it has to be the D750. When I was thinking about this category, I was first going to the D850, right? I mean, higher end camera, and it does have that autofocus selector joystick on the back, which I normally do really like, but it's a heavier body and it's got a grip that's a little bit large for me. It just never feels right. Anyways, we went into the camera store, who, by the way, helped us out with a lot of the gear that we took B-roll for, so thank you very much. One of the staff members there, Christopher, he actually let me borrow his D750 because I just wanted to get my hands on one again, and it just felt right. I mean, yeah, you don't get an autofocus joystick selector, but the fact that it's got 3D tracking, I find I just put a center square on my subject, start tracking, and I don't really need to move around the joystick button anyways, so that works out just fine. Otherwise, it's the right weight, the grip is a little bit more comfortable, everything just falls into place. And the fact is, when we polled a lot of people what their favorite camera was overall for handling and ergonomics, D750 just kept coming up a lot. So by then we're like, yes, this makes sense, best handling Nikon camera of all time. All right, so what's my number 1 choice for the best handling camera, in my opinion? It's subscribe to the channel. You're damn right. We're gonna guilt trip you until you click that button, because the fact of the matter is, if you've watched the video this far, you must be enjoying it. So just click that button if you haven't already. I'm gonna tell you the answer whether you do it or not. Don't worry, but I'd really appreciate it. All right, so for our final category, my best handling camera, Jordan has positioned me next to a stormwater outlet because, I don't know, he's in a mood. This is art, right, Jordan? Pretty? All right, he thinks it's pretty. So, number 1 choice, it is actually going to be a Canon camera, which is strange, I know, because I've actually traditionally really not enjoyed Canon SLR design personally. Now, there are some really good standouts here, though. I mean, first off, in the APS-C line, the Canon EOS M6 Mark II was actually a really handsome camera that felt great, simple controls. I actually really liked it. It just felt comfortable, but that's my number 1 choice. What about the R3? Well, out of the 3 latest full-frame professional mirrorless cameras, Nikon, Canon, and Sony, I actually do prefer the Canon EOS R3. I like that it's a little bit smaller, very customizable, so many ways to choose your autofocusing point. I mean, it does feel like a very capable camera, but if I'm being completely honest, the camera that I got the most enjoyment out of, that just felt the most right to me, was actually the Canon EOS R5. So it's all about getting a camera that's going to tick a lot of boxes for you. And first off, just from the intuitive nature of it, I've always liked Canon's menus, but the Canon EOS R5 has such a seamless interface. To go from the menus to a touchscreen interface using the quick menu, it's all very simple and straightforward. And if I want to change something quickly, whatever looks the most obvious way to do it just works. And I really appreciate that. The body design as well, it's compact with a great grip, just seems to fit my hand really well. It's not overly light, not overly heavy, it's just right. Good controls, well spaced out. I can still customize a lot of the camera's features too. Now the LCD screen on the back is nice quality. It fully articulates, which I prefer. It's got a great EVF, and although it's not a very sexy camera, it just feels good to me. You know, in this line of work, I have a unique opportunity where I'm trying different cameras all the time. Now that's a lot of fun, but it can also be very difficult because I'm constantly having to switch my focus from one design structure to another week to week. And so when I pick up a Canon EOS R5, everything fell into place. It made sense. For me, no other camera has felt that comfortable in my hands and that comfortable for me to just navigate as the Canon EOS R5. So I think for me, that's the most important thing. All right, thank you guys for joining us. And if you appreciated this kind of list style video, let us know in the comments below, because if you like it, we'll make more, and I promise we'll call them Listicles with Chris Niccolls. Otherwise, again, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel and for liking it and for joining us. We shall see you all soon with another episode of DPReview TV.